let's talk about money and logistics. So far my packages have traveled across 3 continents, one of them got lost, but now finally everything is here where I'm currently staying in Italy, and where I also don't have any equipment with me. In this episode I'll cover what this project cost me so far, how much will it cost to make 1 unit of this product, and the issues with global logistics, and then finally the short-term plan to get this board prototypes assembled and test them for the first time. Back in April I started the process to register a company in Sweden, and there are 2 practical reasons for that. One is that I've spent and I'm gonna be spending money for this project, so if there is a company those are business expenses. 2, if I want to run a Kickstarter campaign and take payments, I need a legal entity. And also since this is a physical product, it's good to have a company liable instead of me as an individual. In Sweden the standard company type is called aktiebolag, which is shortened in AB, and that's basically the Swedish version of an LLC. Now bear with me because there is gonna be 3 different currencies displayed. First things first, to open a company, an AB in Sweden, you need the starting capital of at least 25,000 crowns. This starting capital is not money that's gonna be lost, it's gonna be sitting in the company's bank account and can be used for expenses. For the actual fee, registering a company can be done online and it costs about 1,900 crowns. And then you also need to pay an additional 250 crowns to register that you are the actual shareholder of the company. So yeah, I paid 250 crowns to declare that I own my own company. And then you need to do some tax registrations, which are free and are handled by the tax agency. The last piece is that you need a bank account to deposit your starting capital, and I went with a bank that had the option to do the whole process online. Some banks may require you to visit one of their offices. And for the bank I had to pay a starting fee of 2,500 crowns. So if we add up all the fees, we land on 4,700 crowns, which is a bit above 400 euros. It's not too bad, honestly. And also the process is quite convenient. Everything can be done online. There is only like a bit of waiting time because there are 3 different agencies. So it ended up taking me a bit over 1 month end to end to get everything approved and have all the paperwork ready. So if we add up all the money that I spent so far to register the company, to buy the dev kits, to start prototyping, I spent a total of $1,839. And I will probably spend some more on this. Now to the more interesting question. What does 1 unit of this product cost to make? Let's go through the bill of materials that I have now. So for the circuit board, you already know from the last video that it cost me $511 to get 5 boards. The 2 sensors are still the biggest chunk of that. They cost about 52 euros per board. And the prices vary a bit by distributor, but when you start ordering more units at a time, you get a bit of discount. So if I order 100 units for each sensor, then I'm gonna be paying a total of 40 euros per sensor board. It's a bit tricky because even if you increase further the volume, let's say buying 1,000 units, then the discount is a bit flat. You don't get much more discount than this. The lithium polymer battery costs about 2.75 euros in small quantities, and it can get down to 2.4 euros at 1,000. And the battery is going to be from an EU distributor and has all the paperwork ready. So this is cheaper than I thought, and it is cheap, but there is a catch, and the catch is that they have a 21-week lead time, and 21 weeks is like 5 months, more than 5 months. So yeah, I'm not sure how to handle that. Another part that I haven't talked about is the glass cover needed for the particulate matter sensor. They advise using a specific type of glass, and the shape that I need is pretty small, so I will need to order custom cut glass, and that's not easy to find at small quantities. And the issue is, even if I reach 100 unit orders, or I don't know, 500 unit orders, I'm still gonna be like a small fish for these glass manufacturers. So for now I found a little hack. Instead of ordering custom-made glass, I realized that there are spare parts for watches that have some glass parts that have the right thickness at least. So yeah, that will work for prototyping, but when I start doing real production, I need to find a better solution. Probably I will need to contact different manufacturers and find out which one can allow me to order 100 or 500 pieces at a time. But this part will end up costing me quite a bit, I feel like. Then for assembly I will need like some thermal tape to attach the PM sensor to the board's heatsink. That's cents if you buy a roll of tape. Then I will need some gaskets and maybe a couple screws to close up the enclosure. And finally something to clip or attach the casing to a bag or a backpack or something. I haven't looked into how much it will cost, but I will also need some package, some labeling, and to print like user manuals. Then we have the enclosure. Many people tend to focus on the electronics, which are more complex, but the enclosure, since it's gonna be a custom-made part for just this product, is also a tricky part. Injection molding is the traditional way to make these plastic parts, but injection molding only makes sense at larger scale. Like if I'm making 100 units, it doesn't make sense to do injection molding because I'm gonna have to invest money to make a tool for the injection molding process. So instead I've decided to go with 3D printing, but not the 3D printing that you're familiar with, FDM. I want to use a different 3D printing process called MJF, which stands for multi-jet fusion. Instead of melting a plastic filament, it fuses like a powder, a nylon powder, layer by layer. And the parts come out strong and smooth, quite close to injection molding quality. This process also allows for the complex internal structure that I will need. So I need air channels for the CO2 sensors, and I need a special insert for the PM sensor to hold the glass in place and so on. These complex internal geometries are quite hard to achieve both with injection molding but also with the traditional 3D printing. I have made a rough draft of the enclosure, and I've used those files to get price estimation for how much will it cost to get this made with the MJF process. Just for fun, I tested both some European manufacturers and some Chinese manufacturers, and the prices vary a lot. I found one where I could get these two parts casing for 17 euros. I even found one where they were quoting 119 euros for the same part. So I think it's good to have a manufacturer in Europe for quick prototyping iterations, but for production it doesn't really make sense to pay that much. So adding everything up for now, for one complete prototype cost me around 120 euros to make, and if I project this cost at 100 units, it's gonna be 70 with the Chinese ordered casing. My target cost is like less than 65 euros, and with my calculations in this spreadsheet, the point where I can reach a cost of less than 65 euros is 500 units. And keep in mind that the sensors are still gonna be like 40 euros per unit in that case even. I haven't included packaging, labeling and shipping costs here. But you can already see that to make the business case work, the retail prices of this device cannot be like lower than 200 euros. And now to the status updates. The good news is that I have all the parts here. I received the boards just yesterday. But the bad news is that getting them was very painful, and I underestimated the complexity of global logistics. And this is going to be an issue for future orders as well, both if I'm prototyping and for the first production batch. Now let's see this package odyssey that has been unfolding over the last month. So package 1 is a package from DigiKey that has the missing components that are not assembled on the board. I ordered it in the beginning of June, and it took 2 days for the package to be shipped from the US to my local airport in Sweden, Gothenburg. And then FedEx Sweden just lost the package. I called them almost every day for like a week, asking them where is my package. They kept coming back with a different story every time. So in the end I gave up on the FedEx customer support and I contacted DigiKey directly. And after a while they agreed to reship the package at no cost for me, since the package was lost. But this reshipping happened right at the time where I was about to travel from Sweden. So I had to ask them to ship it to my address that I'm staying at in Italy. And it took only 2 days for the package to get here. Then there is the other package, which is the one with my custom PCBs. This one is coming from a Chinese manufacturer. Unfortunately, as I already mentioned, they don't have in stock all the components that I needed. In particular, the NRF54 Bluetooth module, which is made by Raytac, which is a Taiwanese company. It's not easily available on Western distributors either, so I contacted them directly. And they also helped me decide between 2 versions. So this piece right here, this one is that module, and they have an even smaller package. But they said that the smaller package costs more, and by package I mean the component that end up on the board. And it also has higher failure rate when assembling it on the PCBs. So after agreeing with them, I bought a few units and asked them to ship them to the Chinese manufacturer. This part was pretty okay, even though it took a bit of time to coordinate, but not too bad. So these modules got shipped to China. and then got assembled on my board, but then it took 10 days plus for my board to arrive to Sweden. When it arrived, I already had left because I'm visiting my hometown in Italy. So then I asked a friend to reship that package from Sweden to Italy, and I got it yesterday. Shipping from Sweden to Italy took less than 24 hours. But yeah, it cost me extra money. It was approximately the same price to ship stuff from China to Sweden. So yeah, all these packages have traveled a lot more mileage than I did for my holiday. This aspect with getting all the parts delivered is a bit tricky because I need to consider it for the next batches as well. So the learning from ordering these 5 prototypes is I can't order fully assembled boards directly from China. Many Chinese manufacturers offer this turnkey service where you just give them your bill of material and your production files, and they order the components for you and do everything end to end. But many of my components are not usually in stock at Chinese distributors or manufacturers, so they would have to buy them from Western distributors like DigiKey, Mouser and so on. Then they end up charging you like 30% or even more for each component, and that will make my PCB very, very expensive. So the plan for the next prototype run is to order the bare PCBs without the components, and then separately order the components myself and then assemble them. And hand assembling is doable, but it's also tricky. I would need to order like a small reflow oven and a stencil, so then I would apply the solder paste and place the components myself and then bake the boards in the oven. There are even some cheap pick and place machines, but it's still an investment, so at this point it's not justifiable for me to buy that. But I must admit it's quite intriguing to think about having a small automated assembly line. When I'm done prototyping for the first real production batch, I still think I might go with a Chinese manufacturer, but instead of having them source the components, I will probably buy them and then ship them. They will charge an extra fee for handling the parts that I shipped, but it's gonna be cheaper than them sourcing them, and it's gonna save me a lot of time. So if I ordered 100 boards, that probably makes sense. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not at home in Sweden, but I'm visiting my hometown, Bologna in Italy. The issue is that I don't have any of my equipment here with me, so even though I just got the boards, I cannot try to turn them on. But luckily one of my friends, her dad, has a company and they do electronic stuff as well. So I will be borrowing their lab and equipment to assemble the boards and do the... Do you think it will work first try? Leave your guess in the comments. I'm quite curious. It's the first revision, but it's not super complicated. On another note, people have started pre-ordering, which is amazing and I'm really thankful for that. I have now 4 customers. I mentioned I want to make this first batch a special edition, so I've been thinking about how to do that. And I was maybe considering taking the names and somehow encode them into some art data matrix or something and have it printed on the silk screen. The board is quite small, it's like 70 millimeters times 25 millimeters, but here in the back I have some space. So I think this would fit something. And if you have ideas of how to make this first edition special, please write it in the comments. I'm looking for inspiration. And of course, if you want to be part of this first edition, go to particle.cloud and pre-order one. Only $10, fully refundable. So yeah, I have a quite exciting week ahead. Now stuff is finally gonna be happening, so make sure to subscribe to get the updates. I'm Sarah, this is Busy Wait. See you in the next loop.